This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock!
But the evil that men do lives on.
We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Schweitzer.
Welcome to another edition of the Music Mania podcast. I'm your host, Clint Schweitzer, and I'll tell you what, it is summertime, and the living is anything but easy here on the Music Mania podcast, as I've been out there covering a lot of shows, doing a lot of interviews, and writing some reviews. This is what I do for the summer times. I hope you guys are out there enjoying some live music and basically embracing all that summertime is all about, enjoying your friends, some cold beverages, the outdoors, although here in Missouri, I'll tell you what, it's been about 100 degrees for the entire summer, but you know what? No excuse. Out there hitting shows, doing a lot of interviews. It's just been great, and it's what we do here on the Music Mania podcast, because you know the music. On this show, we tell you the stories, and we're going to be bringing on a big guest today, as Def Leppard guitarist Vivian Campbell will be joining us to talk about the current Def Leppard Journey Tour, which is going all across America this summer, and what many are calling the Rock Tour of the Year. You've got Def Leppard and Journey, two rock heavyweights out there, and they're playing big venues, even stadiums in some regards. We're going to get into that with Vivian Campbell. In fact, he's been in the band now for 25 years. Of course, he took over during the Adrenalize era when after Steve Clark passed away in the early 90s, and Vivian's been a part of Def Leppard. He's battled cancer, and he's battled back to remain on stage and to remain a touring force with Def Leppard. We're going to get into all that with him, as well as his involvement with The Last in Line, which is with Vinny Appice, Phil Soussan, and Andrew Freeman, a band that released their album Heavy Crown just a couple years ago, produced by Jeff Pilson from Foreigner, who was just on our show. Of course, this music pays tribute to Ronnie James Dio, and we're going to get into that with him. And obviously, Vivian had a very public feud with Ronnie James Dio. We're going to hopefully get into why he decided to do this project, maybe put some of those past problems with him and Ronnie behind him. Maybe after Ronnie passed away in 2010, that he was able to, maybe make peace with what happened with he and Ronnie, and now out there paying tribute to that great music. And as always, we appreciate you hitting that subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube, either way you choose to take in the show. Our website, musicmaniapodcast.com. I've just got a new review from last week up there from Bush. I saw Bush here in Kansas City, and I've got a review of that show on there. I've got all shows that I attend are reviewed on our website, as well as all of our interviews are archived on musicmaniapodcast.com. So we urge you to take a look at that and give us some feedback. You can tweet us at musicmania_show if you have an idea for a guest. If you want to, do a review of your own for our website, we'll put it up there. Absolutely. And I tell you what, before we get into it with Vivian Campbell and get to our guest for this week's show, I've got to talk about my weekend coming up, because I am heading to Indianapolis to cover the Beach Boys concert. Yes, this is literally my first time seeing the Beach Boys, a lifelong fan, and this music has been a part of my life since I was a kid, since my dad listened to it, since my dad basically forced me to listen to it. But growing up, everyone knows Beach Boys songs. They're ingrained and a part of America, and it's going to be great to finally see them in this current incarnation. Obviously, no Brian Wilson, no Al Jardine, but you got Mike Love, Bruce Johnston up there in a great sounding group, and they're going to be performing with the Indiana Symphony Orchestra out at a place in Fishers, Indiana. So I'm heading out there and then hitting Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson the next day. I'm in St. Louis. So a busy weekend for me, and it's kind of running the gambit, and that's what we do. I'd never like to just pigeonhole myself to one genre, so to speak. So we're going to be hitting Beach Boys, and then Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie. The Twins of Evil tour returns, and that's a tour I never thought you'd see again after they toured a few years ago and seemed to not get along so well. But here we go. This is what makes it great. You never know what's going to happen. Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, that's going to be a show not to be missed. So that's kind of what's going on for me the next week or so. Got a lot of other big shows coming up, but before we get to our guest, Vivian Campbell, this week, I've got to tell you about our sponsor, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. For over 22 years, a staple of the Northland. Guys, they buy, sell, and trade CDs, DVDs, vinyl, and more. You can catch them at 2504 Northeast 57th Terrace in Gladstone, Missouri, or give them a call at 816-455-2130. Tell the owner, Randy Ringer, that Music Mania sent you, and he will give you a discount, or it's on us. Vivian, hello, sir. How you doing? Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Clint. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. I tell you what, if my geography is correct, and it isn't always, I've got you somewhere in Tulsa, Oklahoma today. How is that correct? You guys are in Tulsa tonight.
Exactly, yes. We're playing the Bach Center in Tulsa tonight.
Yeah, it's a great venue. This Journey Def Leppard tour, Vivian, has been doing great numbers. You guys are doing huge venues, even stadiums in some regards. I know this thing's been going on for over a month now. How's it been going? What's the vibe been like? And just what's your thoughts been on the tour so far?
It's been incredible, actually. Yeah, it's really, really great. This is only the second time we've toured with Journey. The first time was 12 years ago, 2006. And like Leppard, Journey just have a real depth of catalog, just so many hit songs. So it makes for a great show, and we're co-headlining, so we're flipping back and forth. One night we'll open, one night we'll close, so on and so forth. But both bands play an equal set length every night. And, we really kind of upped the ante on the production this year for Leppard. We always try and have a lot of bells and whistles in our show, but we really kind of put a very special show together for this tour, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, you mentioned that this tour happened 12 years ago, and it was much ballyhooed at that time. And now 12 years later, why did you think that now was the time to go back out with Journey? You guys have done a lot of big tours. You guys, you've toured with such big bands. You toured last year with Poison. Why Journey, and why this year? And why do you think the time was right to do it again?
Well, the Journey tour that we did 12 years ago was a huge success. We played to a lot of people, and they kept adding more and more shows on the tour. So it really is one of the bigger ones that we've done. Like I said, this is only ever the second time that we've toured with them. And, we literally running out of bands to tour with. There's not many bands of our generation left, when you think about it, there's so many of them have retired or thrown the towel in or whatever, So, but Journey are right up there with Leppard, like I said, because really of the catalog of hit songs. It really is one of those evenings where 1 and 1 makes 3. I think there's a lot of people who are fans of both bands, and just fans of genuine hit songs, really more than anything else. So, it's just they are of a certain quality, and Leppard, I'd like to think that we are too. So. It's a combination that works.
Well, there's not a lot of bands, Vivian, that can go out and play stadiums in America of the rock genre. This is unbelievable. You guys are going to be here. You talked about playing the BOK Center in Tulsa tonight. You guys are going to be here in Missouri and St. Louis in August playing Busch Stadium, where the St. Louis Cardinals play. You guys have a lot of stadiums on this deal. Talk about that, because there's just not a lot of bands that could go out there and play stadiums. There's you think about like U2 could come here and play. Here's Def Leppard Journey in stadiums in 2018. I mean, that's got to be gratifying.
Yeah, well, we do add a third band for the stadiums. We played a baseball park in Atlanta. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a stadium show that was in Atlanta a week or so ago. And we added the Pretenders on that bill. We're also playing Wrigley Field in Chicago with Pretenders, and again in Detroit. We got Cheap Trick on a few of the shows. We got Foreigner coming onto one of them. So we added a third act for the stadium shows, and to make it even more of an evening. Well, but it really is thrilling. I mean, for us, we've been seeing our numbers grow on this tour in particular, but for the past decade or so, we've seen a lot of younger people coming to Def Leppard shows, and this is one of the upsides of music piracy, I suppose, is that a whole different generation gets exposed to your music, and now I'd say that 30 or 40% of our audience are young enough to be our kids, and that's thrilling to see, because when you get that youthful energy coming into a show, that kind of plays back to those of us on stage, and we want to kind of up our game a little bit more. So it's a win-win situation.
Well, hopefully, Vivian, that these kids are now going to be starting to obtain this music legally, because the Def Leppard catalog is now available digitally for the first time. I mean, that's a big deal, and I know that there's a lot of, people are trying to find means to get music published and get it out there. And now the Def Leppard catalog's out there and available. That's got to be a big deal.
It is, actually. It's been a long time coming. Our original record deal, Def Leppard's first record deal, was signed in 1977 or something, or 79. So, the technology didn't exist back then, and the contract was never updated. It was just kind of rolled over from term to term, and nobody ever addressed the issues. So we were, for many, many years, at odds with our record company as to how to distribute our catalog online and how we were supposed to get paid for it, and we couldn't come to an agreement until last year. Unfortunately, we did, and as of January this year, the entire Def Leppard catalog is available on all the major digital platforms. So that's great for us. We're really, really pleased that we were finally able to resolve that and get that out there.
Well, Vivian, you've been a part of Def Leppard now, not to date anyone here, but for 24, 25 years, which is unbelievable. Have you ever heard the band sound as good as it is right now? Because I've seen the tour the last 3 years that you guys have been here in Kansas City, where I am, and to me, the band has never sounded better. Where are you at right now with just kind of where the band is as a functioning machine? Joe's singing great. The background vocals, which are so important to Def Leppard. There's maybe no more of a vocal band in music than Def Leppard. And how do you feel like you guys are sounding right now?
Well, yeah, try 26 years. Actually, 26 years.
Okay, yeah.
the new guy, but yeah, we actually are. We're playing and singing better than ever. Joe, in particular, as you noticed, I mean, he had a little thing with his throat 2 or 3 years ago, and Joe worked very, very hard to rebuild his voice, and he's come back stronger than ever. I've never heard Joe sing so well as he is on this tour. And all the vocals we do, they're all live, and we do pride ourselves on that. We work very, very, very hard on that, and we are, I think that's the one thing that sets us apart from so many other hard rock bands, is that we really, really can sing. And the great thing about being a musician, unlike an athlete, is, you do get better and better at your craft. You nuance it from year to year. And, Phil and I talk about this a lot. Come off stage after the show and just, it's incremental. But, we really, really notice it. We really do, from year to year, that we kind of finesse our art and our style and make it better and better. And that matters to us. We do take a lot of pride in what we do. And, we want to be the best that we can be about it.
I think you've said before, that's kind of funny, you said, our goal, and, we think that we sound so good that people think we're faking it. I think that's funny, and that's so true, because you do hear that, and yet Def Leppard's always maintained that integrity, and you guys have always had that, such the thick background vocals, and it sounds great, man. Definitely not faking it. That's the key, of course.
Well, I actually thought that back in 1987, I was playing with Whitesnake for a while, and myself and the members of Whitesnake, we all went to see Def Leppard on the Hysteria tour, and I thought the band were rhyming. That's how good Leppard sounded back then, and I think we've gotten better and better through the years. So, yeah, it's a nice little backhanded compliment, when people think you're faking it.
Absolutely. Well, we'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, because last week our guest on this show was Jeff Pilson from Foreigner. He produced Last in Line's first album, Heavy Crown, and he's producing your next one. And he talked about this new album maybe being out first of 2019, something like that. Talk about Last in Line, your involvement, and just kind of what you expect from this next album from Last in Line.
Well, another reason why Leppard is sounding better and better is because we come back to it fresh by going off and getting involved in these other little side projects. Joe has a project called The Down and Outs. He's done a few albums with. Phil has a project called Delta Deep, which is a blues thing. He's done a couple albums there, a bunch of shows, and with me, it's Last in Line, So when you go off and you do these projects, it gives you a chance to exercise different muscles, and then when you come back to Leppard, you come back fresh and focused on that. But the Last in Line, in a nutshell, it's the remnants of the original Dio band. It was put together a year and a half after Ronnie had passed away. I just kind of had the urge to to get back to that music and to play angry rock guitar again like that. So I called up Vinny Appice, the original drummer, Jimmy being the original bass player. And, together with Ronnie, we wrote and recorded and toured the Holy Diver album, Last in Line album, and Sacred Heart. And, so we just started goofing around and playing this stuff, and just for fun, basically. And then it sort of grew out of that. Vinny knew this singer called Andrew Freeman, invited him down to sing with us. And when Andrew walked in and sang, and Andrew's got a really, really, really strong voice, but he doesn't sound anything like Ronnie. Ronnie was such a unique singer and the best of the genre, and, nobody could replace that. And when Andy came in, it was a whole different thing. You have to be a really strong singer to sing on top of the racket that Jimmy and Vinny and I made, and Andrew could do it, and it sounded, it was the unmistakable sound of the original Dio band. When Jimmy and Vinny and I played together, that's the sound of the early Dio band, and Andrew singing on top of it made it something different. So long story short, it just was a fun project. We weren't taking it too seriously. We were just playing some regional West Coast shows, and it sort of grew over a couple of years. We got invited to play in Europe and do some festivals, and went to Japan. And off of the back of that, a couple of years later, we were offered a record deal with Frontiers and a chance to write and record some new music in a similar vein. So we decided to go in and do that, and it came together very quickly. It's very organic, very natural, much like the early Dio albums were written. And Jeff Pilson, as you said, produced it, and he was a perfect choice for us. Jeff, did a stint with Ronnie in later years, so he really kind of got what the band was about. And we recorded everything about the album Heavy Crown. We approached it in a similar way to how we did the Holy Diver album back in 1982. We kind of recorded it with the same ethos and the same approach, and we were very pleased with how it came out. Unfortunately, we lost Jimmy literally a month before that album was released. Yeah. In early 2016, Jimmy passed away, and we had a major tour planned and all sorts, and we had to cancel that, and it was a real blow, and nobody loved the band more than Jimmy. Jimmy actually went and he only had one tattoo on his body when he died. I don't mean to laugh, it's not funny, but it's kind of ironic, but it was a Last in Line tattoo. The band meant so much to Jimmy, So, and partly because of that, we decided that we owed it to him and to ourselves to continue. So we ended up getting Phil Susan, who's been a great fit for the band. He, played with Ozzy back in the 80s and was a good friend of Jimmy's, and actually really plays a lot like him, and he really gets what the band is about. And we've just finished recording the second album, and as you said, it's going to be released early in 2019. And the reason we're holding off on the release is because I really want to tour with the band and the album, and I'm on the road until December with Def Leppard, so I really want to wait until I can give it my full attention. And it's a really, really, really great album. Having Phil in the band has really, I think, elevated our songwriting to a large extent, and also just the natural progression of the band and writing with Andrew and getting to know each other a bit more. And it sounds like a band's second album. It really sounds like a development, and I'm very, very, very excited about it. And as a guitar player, it's just been so much fun to get back to my roots that way, and then really get to exercise that muscle, and I'm really, really, really pleased with my guitar playing on the record. And it's nice to play some really angry rock too, as well as the Leppard stuff. So it's a win-win for me, And like I say, all this keeps us fresh when we come back to Def Leppard. When Phil and Joe and I go off and do these other projects, and we come back to Def Leppard with a whole different perspective and a whole different fresh set of ears on it, and the band really benefits from it.
Vivian, do you think that your involvement with Last in Line, you revisiting this music, because I know you didn't visit any of the Dio catalog for so long, do you think that this is a kind of a way of, because I know you and Ronnie never were able to publicly make peace with kind of the feud you guys had going on, for lack of a better term. Do you think this is kind of a way of making peace with that whole situation with you and Ronnie?
Absolutely, yeah. It's very cathartic for me to be able to do this. And if Ronnie were alive, he would approve. But then again, if Ronnie were alive, I would never have done it. Mm-hmm. If there was still a version of the Dio band out there playing, I would never have put Last in Line together. It just seemed like after Ronnie had passed away that it was a chance for me to reassess that situation. And it was unfortunate that things ended the way they did with Ronnie. I'm sure, knowing Ronnie the way I knew him, I'm sure if we had met each other under the right circumstances, without other people around us and whatnot, that we could have sat down and had a beer and probably made amends, hopefully. But that was never to be. And then we both made the mistake of going after each other through the media, which is never a good idea. But you get sucked into these things, So relationships are complicated, and my relationship with Ronnie was always very complicated, even at the best of times. And it didn't end well. I mean, one thing that really bugged me over the years was that everyone thinks that I left the Dio band, that I turned my back on it. I did turn my back on it, but only after I was fired, and that's why I turned my back on it. I mean, it left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'd given so much to that band for those early albums and to Ronnie, and all I wanted was to be paid at least more than the road crew, and that somehow or other was conflated into my wanting equal share with Ronnie, which is absolutely not true. And it was such an ugly business, and the way that I think that I was slandered, by the Dio camp. And they said that I left the band. I absolutely did not. I was fired in the middle of a tour, and it hurt me so much, and for so many years I just wanted nothing to do with it. But it was only after Ronnie had passed away, and with the passage of so many years, and perhaps my having a cancer diagnosis as well, and dealing with all that, it really kind of makes you reassess a lot of things in life. And I was able to go back to that and realize that despite the hurt that was there from the way that they had treated me, it was still my heritage. I mean, I still created those songs and those albums with Ronnie and with Jimmy and with Vinny. We all give heart and soul into that. It was very, very much a collaborative group effort, and it's very, very much our heritage. It's as much my heritage as it was Jimmy Ben's, as it was Vinny Appice's, as it was Ronnie's. So it's nice to be able to get back to that and see it in a whole different light and enjoy it. So,
sure.
I'm out there doing the last in line thing, and some idiots go around saying it's a cash grab. I mean, they obviously have no idea how the music business works. It's very much a passion project for me. It's a labor of love. It's not anything I need to do, but it's something I really, really want to do, and I get great pleasure out of doing it. We play clubs, we stay in shitty hotels, and we get paid next to no money, but it's very cathartic for me, and it's very enjoyable, and it's what I do, and it's what I do very, very well. So it makes me happy, and I see the joy that it brings to a lot of people. A lot of people who are fans of that early Dio era and the early albums and stuff, and they, there's only me and Vinny left, but we still make a hell of a sound. And together with Andrew and Phil, it's pretty remarkable band.
Huge fan of what you guys are doing. Can't wait for that new album. I loved Heavy Crown, and hope to see you guys live coming up too. Viv, before we cut you loose, man, I got to ask you. You talked about your cancer diagnosis. I've always looked at Def Leppard as this band of amazing highs and lows. You think about losing Steve Clark. You think about Rick Allen's losing his arm. You think about your cancer diagnosis back in 2013. How does this band overcome so many of these obstacles, and how are you doing physically yourself right now?
Well, I mean, it's not just Def Leppard. I mean, life happens to a lot of people. You take any 5 people or 6 people, including Steve, and you track them over the course of 30 to 40 years. There's going to be shit's going to happen. There's going to be good. There's going to be bad. But with Leppard, maybe our troubles have been a little bit more publicized than most. So. I don't consider that this band is lucky or unlucky. We just kind of work hard, and we happen to have a certain amount of talent between us. But as far as my diagnosis goes, I mean, it was never anything I was too concerned about, and I really think that that's what has helped me get through it. It's when you're faced with something like a cancer diagnosis. I mean, you only have 2 choices. I mean, you can go one way or you can go the other. You can capitulate to the disease and start the slow, agonizing process of death, or you can look in the eye and say, fuck off,
Yeah.
and just get on with your life. And so I decided to go that route. You know, I mean, to me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, it's pretty obvious that's the path you got to take. You got to fight, you know. And it's always been kind of the least of my concerns. I can't really put it out of my mind. You know, I never let it trouble me. You know, there were times when it did trouble me because I was physically very, very ill from it. But you know, there's other times where I kind of forget about it. You know, and it's kind of still ongoing with me. I still have to do treatments every month. Doing immunotherapy, but I'm very, very fortunate that I found a treatment that works for me, that holds it at bay, and my doctors are quite happy to let me continue my life and my work. And as long as it doesn't get any worse, we're all good. So, you know, but work was very, very important to me. I mean, there were some difficult times with the band. I really wanted to continue to tour. I had a very hard time convincing Def Leppard's management that I could do that. Eventually I did. You know, we had a couple of shows where it was touch and go, but I got through it, you know, and but that was very, very important to me. I think if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would have survived the disease. You know, work is life to me, and it's a, like I said, my work is my passion. It's all I ever wanted to do since I was a kid, was play guitar in a rock band, and I'm very fortunate that I get to play guitar in a lot of rock bands, you know, so... Yeah. But that's what keeps me alive, you know. And even with the Last in Line stuff, I mean, I was out there when I was doing hardcore chemo, playing club shows with Last in Line in Europe, you know. And I didn't have any hair in my head. I didn't even have eyebrows, but it felt good. It kept me alive, you know. So.
Wow.
It's the power of music.
Well, Vivian, congratulations on 26 amazing years in Def Leppard and a great career and so many memorable moments. And, so, you know, someone that holds those first few Dio albums so close to my heart, I'm just glad you're able to revisit Last in Line is amazing. Thank you so much for your time. We kept you longer than I had even planned, Vivian, and I can't thank you enough. I know it's a show day for you guys. Hope you have a great day, a great show tonight in Tulsa, and we will see you here in Missouri and next month, my friend. Can't thank you enough.
Cheers. Thank you, Clint.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye-bye.
What an amazingly candid interview with Vivian Campbell there. You just heard it here on the Music Mania podcast. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. We had Phil calling on last year to promote the Poison Def Leppard tour, and this year to talk to Vivian and to really delve into, because there were some things that I really just wanted to know personally as a fan. I mean, going back to, I was such a fan of Dio and the first few Dio albums, Holy Diver, Last in Line, Sacred Heart, and to go back with him and revisit that, I know that Vivian had a very public falling out with Dio and the Dio camp, and they had said some bad things about each other in the media. I mean, Ronnie James Dio was even on a YouTube video saying that he hopes that Vivian dies, and then Vivian a few years later gets cancer, and then Dio himself dies in 2010. It's just sort of it's a very, you know, it's unfortunate that they were not able to mend fences before Ronnie passed, but I think maybe by doing this project Last in Line, you know, it was a way of Vivian, you know, able to move on from what happened and to revisit his past and to get back into those songs. And that's what it's really all about, is the music, and it lives on, and that's what is happening. And props to Vivian for going on, still living with cancer, still battling it, and still touring extensively with Def Leppard. I mean, really an inspiration. And Vivian is a really good, nice guy. And the answers he gave were very candid. I didn't expect that, to be honest. I kind of expected a 12 to 15 minute paint by numbers interview where we promote the tour with Journey and, you know, kind of keep it very standard. And you know what? It was anything but that. And I give Vivian huge credit for delving into all those topics. I mean, I think that's awesome. And I have a lot of respect for him. As a guy that kind of almost gets lost in Def Leppard. He's the guy that replaced Steve Clark, who passed away in the early 90s. And of course, 26 years later, here, Viv still is very much a part of Def Leppard. He's been a part of, I believe, 7 studio albums, starting with Adrenalize. And here we go. This is a huge tour, stadiums all over the country. Big arenas all over the country, and it goes through October. Guys, you can go to defleppard.com to get the rest of those dates. And I'll also want to send you to lastinlineofficial.com. That gives you all the info on the project Last in Line. Guys, Vinny Appice, Andrew Freeman, Phil Soussan, and Vivian Campbell, keeping the music of Ronnie James Dio alive, and also working on a new album of original material that's produced by Jeff Pilson, a good friend of our shows. Guys, we can't thank you enough for joining us. I hope you catch this tour out there somewhere. I'm actually going to be on vacation when the tour hits Kansas City, so I think I'm going to have to make a trip to St. Louis, maybe coming up in August. So With that being said, hope you guys are enjoying your summer. Hit some shows. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy some cold beverages. Just enjoy this season, which is my favorite. And when it comes to summertime, I'm out going to shows. I'm home for a few days, and then I'm back out, and I'm going to be in Indianapolis and then St. Louis this weekend for some concerts. So keep an eye out. We have some huge guests coming up the rest of the summer. That's what we do here on the podcast. You know the music. On this podcast, we tell you the stories. We'll catch you next week. Thank you so much.